Let me call to order the Park and Recreation Commission meeting on 1st October 2020. Time is at 7. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
States
America,
of America, and to the
to the
republic
republic
for
for
which
which it stands,
and
one nation,
under God.
indivisible,
with
with liberty and
liberty and
justice
justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you. Hello, Whitney, could you please do the roll call?
Chair Kamarakan,
Yes.
Vice Chair Stanek,
Here.
Commissioner Tombe,
Mute, maybe.
Oh, sorry, here.
Commissioner Shu,
Yes, here.
Commissioner Begor,
Here.
Great. All commissioners present. That's awesome. Let's go to the first item, which is the ceremonial matters and presentations. And item number 1, subject it is a teen programming. And there is a recommended action to receive a presentation on teen programming. Okay, I wanted to specifically call out. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Sure.
So this evening, I'm happy to announce that we have Daniel Mestizo, our recreation coordinator in charge of teen programming and all things teen, as well as the Teen Commission, here to provide you a presentation.
Thank you, Joanne, and thank you all of having me. I'm happy to be back here and share updates on our teen programming over the past few months. Excuse me. Before I start, I would like to inform everyone that I do have a speech impediment, and I'd like to thank you for your patience as I go through my presentation. While I do wear different hats, my primary area of focus is in team programs, and this is what I will be focusing on today. Excuse me. I'm gonna take a step back here and just kind of recenter myself. I'm a bit there is some anxiety here, and it's making things a bit more exciting. So our youth are going through an especially challenging time. These are technically supposed to be the fun years, but with the turbulence of COVID-19 and the new challenges of distance of learning, these two things in tandem have had a severe impact on our youth and their mental health. So the goal I have is to try and ease some of these burdens with our programs. So this is our agenda for today. These last 6 months have been a very interesting experiment, not to mention an exercise in creativity, and so I am going to be sharing some events that we organize as well as some programs and classes, and then I'm going to finish with a list of upcoming programs that I'm excited to share. Next slide, please. So starting off with our events, the first event that I would like to highlight is the TEDx Youth at Torre Avenue. This event was a partnership between the teen commission and the Cupertino Libraries Teen Advisory Board. It was supposed to be in person, but in lieu of the current situation, both of our teen groups worked very diligently to transition it into a virtual event that took place on June 7th. The theme for this year was Ignite, and 5 speakers were selected to share the ways that they ignited their passion and creativity. Our topics included the importance of biculturalism, the psychology behind climate change, Generation Z making an impact, the bubble of the Silicon Valley, and navigating the social media minefield. The entire event was streamed on the city's YouTube channel and countywide via the library's YouTube account, and over 1,600 people have viewed the videos so far. These videos have been uploaded to the city's YouTube page and have been shared with the TEDx organization. Next slide, please. And so next up is our annual Hack Cupertino event. Now, normally this is held as an overnight 13-hour lock-in, but as it so happens, it happened to be scheduled at the same time that the shelter in place order came to effect. So we had postponed it, and the team commission and I worked during the following months to transition the event into a virtual one. And so one benefit from having a virtual format was that we were able to experiment with a longer a work period. And so our coders had one week from July 18th to July 25th to develop their submissions and show them to our judges, who consisted of city commissioners. And so each year, our participants are asked to either create an application or website that's successful, addresses the theme. And this year the theme was civics, and our team coders were challenged to create a solution to a civics related issue, or an application that improves the quality of life of their community. In total, we had 133 participants and 43 projects submissions, which is the most of these hackathon to date. And overall, we received a 100% positive rating, which means that they voted it either good, very good, or excellent. And a very quick note for those who have been following our teen items. TAC Cupertino was very recently awarded an award of excellence this past January from the California Parks and Recreation Society. Next slide, please. So here are the winners for this year's event. In first place, we had Cupertino, which promoted community engagement. In second place, we had Recycle Hub, and that is an app that aims to increase recycling in Cupertino. And as a special follow-up, our sustainability team has actually reached out to the teens who designed the app, and there could be some room there for some continued development. So I'm hoping that that app is going to become part of the list of Cupertino community resources. And for the first time, there was a three-way tie between class, visualizing predicted SFO crime, and MG assist. Next slide, please. All right, so going on to a new program. InfoTeeno is an educational webinar a series that was created by the Youth Activity Board. COVID-19 has affected access to in-person college resources, and this series was intended to touch upon the college application and college life. And as we are very much aware, college is a very large and a very large point of anxiety, and we wanted to alleviate some of the stress by hosting this program. So the introductory college crash course was separated into a morning and afternoon session. The first sessions covered college lists and general admissions, while the afternoon session featured Princeton High School alumni who shared their journeys of writing the essay and their experience with college life. In total, we had 125 signups, and feedback surveys showed that the event was rated at a 4.4 out of 5 stars, which is great for our first InfoTeeno webinar. Next slide, please. So we're going to go on to some programs and classes. Next slide. Started in April, the Senior Pen Pal program is an intergenerational program that was designed to help our seniors socialize during quarantine and connect them with one of our team volunteers to exchange letters. And to remind our seniors of this service, we did include an ad in the most recent issue of the Senior Center newsletter. So you're hoping to expand that. Next slide, please. So in speaking with some of our teens, it is clear that they miss catching up and socializing. I had spoken to one of our teen commissioners, and he had shared that with distance learning, they've kind of taken away the one positive aspect of school. So the Cupertino Study Hall is an experiment in trying to address one of the core, but currently absent developmental milestones of adolescence. It is taking place at the Portal Park building, and it is open for students to come in and study, watch their distance learning classes, have study groups, and allow them to complete schoolwork outside of their house while social distancing. It is open for 4 hours every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 6, and is currently scheduled until October 29th. Students can sign up at our bridgeforbreg.org website, and the cost is $5 for 2-hour increments. Masks are, of course, required. Next slide, please. So we do continue to offer our contractual and enrichment programs, such as our Math Olympiad and communication classes on our website. They are primarily virtual, with a few sport classes occurring at the Quinlan Community Center. Next slide, please. All right, and we've got some upcoming programs. Next slide. Pizza and politics. So for those who are not familiar with the event, Pizza and Politics is a youth critical forum where our teen audience can interact with the politicians serving or who are going to serve their local areas. The goals of the event are to encourage youth and teens civic engagement, make politics more accessible to youth, and provide the youth and teens an opportunity to interact with local representatives. This annual event is jointly coordinated by the Youth and Teen Commissions of Cupertino, Campbell, and Saratoga. This year's special guests include the three mayors of these cities, Assembly Member Evan Lowe and Dave Cortese and Adam Brunel, who are both running for the state Senate District 15 seat. We shall be streaming the event on YouTube and Facebook live. An audience members may submit their questions through an online questionnaire. And I am happy to announce that this is going to be our first year with a team moderator who is a former chair of the teen competition. So that's it's really exciting. Next slide, please. So sorry, that's financial preparedness. Since we found some great success in our InfoTeeno webinars, and we wanted to try and expand the scope of these sessions. Schools are doing a great job of giving our students some academic knowledge. However, we wanted to try and expand that with life knowledge and skills that they can use. When our students get to college, they spend so much time trying to get into college that they tend to lack the experience to make good financial choices. So with that in mind, we are going to be partnering with Key Point Credit Union to offer a three-part series on financial preparedness to provide our students with a solid financial foundation to help them make educated decisions. The first of this three-part series is going to go over the basics of money management. The second session on November 15th is going to teach teens about understanding credit, and the final session on January 24th is going to go over making good money decisions. These are free to teens and parents, and depending on their success, Key Point is open to offering more sessions. Next slide, please. Now we have e-gaming. Okay, perfect. So esports is a excuse me, is a quickly growing trend in the field of parks and recreation, and many cities are starting to include esports into their list of offerings. And so, similar to a sports league, e-gaming leagues give participants a chance to compete against friends and other community members in many popular video games. The structure itself is like sports leagues in that there are regularly scheduled games, playoffs, semifinals, and championships. And so we are working with an external vendor to provide us with the licensing and the online platform to manage the leagues. This is going to be a fee-based program, and we are introducing it to our teens first, but the goal is to expand it to those over 13 years of age and older, since we do know that video games are not exclusive to just teenagers. And if things go according to our timeline, it should be starting in early 2021. Next slide, please. All right, Cupertino Connect. Cupertino Connect is a virtual program that is going to feature weekly activities for teens, 2 times each week for 1 hour each day. We wanted to address those students who were or have been unable to leave home, but still needed some sort of socialization. I am happy to share that we are going to be working with the Cupertino Library and our youth activity board to organize our different activities for our virtual sessions. And our first session is scheduled to begin on Tuesday, October 13th at 4:30 p.m. And so it is going to be held on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Next slide, please. All right, and that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. There's lots of things, and I couldn't believe that you were able to achieve so many things on it. We thought, okay, it's not about that we want to finish it early. We said, what else? Okay, you could able to achieve so many things of it. Awesome, awesome.
Wow.
And also the plan for next year. I think we need to learn, and I think maybe we need to learn on doing similar things. So thank you for it, and let's open it up for any clarifying questions from the commissioners, if at all, if you have any. And I had a couple of quick questions, but I'll just quickly make. The InfoTeeno, you said the college crash course, which was done Was it recorded? Is there anything we can read to? Because I didn't see any link, YouTube link or anything. Is that a recorded session, the webinar series?
Yeah, so it was recorded, and I have to check if it is on YouTube. But the goal is to upload those sessions of, of, for of, for later viewing. And then in regards to the college crash course, I have to double check on where that is. So I will go ahead and add it to my list of things to ask about.
Thank you. And one other question. So it is on the Cupertino Study Hall program, which is starting on September 22nd.
Yes, so it started.
Yeah, September 22nd to October 20th.
Mhm.
You mentioned about the safety. Do we have staff also supervising and make sure that the safety
Yes,
is going to be? Okay.
me. Yeah,
Oh, that's you. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's me.
Yeah, only those two questions I had. Maybe I have, if at all, if we get into a discussions, I do some more, but that's all I had it. And I see Commissioner Mina has some questions.
Thank you for the nice presentation. I got a lot of useful information and I'm really interested part of them. I hope I can be a team again to join them.
I know, me too, right?
I have three quick questions. One is for the activity named Pizza and Politics.
Mhm.
So is this year that's real pizza gathering or virtual pizza?
Oh, that's a good question. And I am going to actually encourage you to check out our social excuse me, our social media next week, because I think you'll like what you're going to find, because we couldn't have actual pizza, so our teams came up with something else that is going to be on our social media next week. But I don't want to spoil these.
That's the top secret. Okay.
Yeah, top secret information.
Okay. And another question. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Another question is regarding the esports. You said this activity can extend to adult.
Mhm.
Do you know the ratio of teens and adult for this activity? Any estimate?
That's a good question. I'm not too sure about that. I do know that the esports the esports organization that we are currently working with, so they started for college students, and then they kind of expanded. So if I'm going based off of that, I would say that there is a good ratio of teens to adults. However, the teens are only going to compete against each other, and the adults are only going to compete against their adults. So there is going to be that distinction. And then speaking for myself, I do know that there are still lots of adults who are very into video games, and so it's, I feel very optimistic about this program.
Okay, yeah, that's for sure. And the last question is about the Cupertino Connect, the weekly activity. You said you collaborate with YAB and library. I'm wondering, how did you select the organization to collaborate? Is it possible to work with other teen organizations in this area, or maybe we can encourage them to contact you to work together?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, I think the thing about going through the times that that we are going through is that our priority is to try and help our teens, and so with that mentality, I am trying to do things which may not work, and so if so this kind of started small, but there is a lot of room to expand, but I mean, it does kind of depend on like what each organization has to offer, but I'm open to any sort of collaborations for sure.
Okay. Yeah, good to know. And thank you for your answer.
Thank you. Thanks. And I do have one other commissioner. Okay, Sashi. Commissioner Sashi.
Yes, I remember to take off my mute. So thank you, Danielle. That was an excellent presentation. I'm just awed at all the creativity of these guys. Combination of, your guidance and what they're coming up with. Those are excellent events. I've taken an action item to make sure I tell my neighbors and friends about, hey, participate.
Absolutely. Excellent news.
So in relation to that action, I was just wondering if you can comment on the outreach of these programs and the teen commission in general within Cupertino. I mean, my kids are way old, way beyond teens, but we found out by accident, but none of them, their schedules didn't work. But I think other people should definitely take advantage of, the resources and the ideas and creativity that you guys are putting so much effort into. So any comment would be appreciated.
And so if I understand, the question is how are these being promoted to the community?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So I closely closely collaborate with our community engagement team to post things on social media, our website, and all of the resources that we have. And then the second part of your question is regarding the teen commission.
More than the teen commission, I guess just how much are you promoting these wonderful activities that you have planned, and in general, even the teen commission. Yes.
Right. And so in terms of teen items, way that it kind of works is kind of on a I would say a binary format. So when we post things on social media or our website or in the scene, that is sometimes more for parents. So the intent is that that parents see it and then that they can share that info. On the teen end, I've seen that the two top ways that they get their info is through word of mouth or social media. So
Okay.
when these things come out, what I do is I share them with all of my contacts. That includes our teen commission, YAB, past volunteers, past event goers, and then just count on them to then share that information. So it kind of works on two fronts, and so I'm hoping that the parents see the info and then and share it, and then at that same time have our teens share it also. And our teens are also trying to have a more active role in these cities' social media and share that info. So there is a lot going on, and then at some point, I'm hoping that word spreads.
Okay. One follow-up. I mean, do you specifically work with the schools? I mean, I would imagine FUHSD or, even because you're taking 8th graders into the program, do you have any kind of a program with the CUSD as well as the FUHSD to kind of talk about these? I mean, especially the life skills one. That's an awesome program. I just can't say congratulations enough on that. That's a fantastic program and allows a lot of kids to know, especially given, the environment here where a lot of children, I mean, I won't say all, but a significant number of children are blessed, so to speak. So to actually understand what it takes to go out and live life would be a good thing to think about, right, at teenage.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the question is, are we working with schools to disseminate the information? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So currently that has been kind of a challenge, just because in the past there was school loop, and our items be shared on school loop. As it currently stands, each school kind of has its own way that they are currently sharing info. So that is something for us to continue to exploring, and seeing if there is some a way of sharing that info. And I'm not sure if actually Joanne has some more info on that.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate that we have our online brochure in lieu of producing and sending out our normal brochure, we have many of these activities viewable and reviewable for people to register for through our fall activity guide that is online. And so that's probably the best course to find everything that we're offering for all the different age groups. And they have updated the guide to distinguish things that are happening in person and virtually. So it's very easy to see in case you prefer one or the other.
Okay. Well, I'll get in touch with you offline so we can actually, I've got some ideas that maybe we can try. But thank you for your presentation and thank you for answering my questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Danielle. And I see Commissioner Tambe have a question.
Hey, just from a get out the vote point of view, are we providing any resources for that, either voter reg forms or access to TurboVote or iwillvote.com or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that's that is going to be in our social media campaign next week.
But I mean, at the event itself.
Oh, of the event itself, at this time, not currently. I would have to check the speech of our moderator and see if that is something that should be added in there.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good opportunity to, make sure that the people who are there are actually registering.
Right, and that was vote for now? Or?
There's a bunch. I'm happy to send you a bunch of resources, but we can talk about it offline.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And I don't see any more clarifying questions. And since it's a presentation, I want to see a public comment in case if I see one public attendee on it. Jennifer, if you really want to make a comment on this one, you can. Okay, give me 1 second. Yes, you are.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Jennifer.
Yes.
I'm actually William Merritt. No, my fire finally gave up the ghost, and we've ordered a new one. So I am William Merritt tonight.
Oh, okay.
That was a wonderful presentation that Daniel gave. I really didn't know that many things about items that were available to teens, and I think now that we can use. Well, let's face it. I think a lot of things are being done online with COVID. And I think this is a great resource, especially in this area, that our teens are able to get together via Zoom, via other programs. And I'm really glad to see that there's this great interaction for the teens available, especially all the teens in Cupertino. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And I don't see any more public in that room. So let's go to any discussion by commissioners. Anything you want to talk about it. Okay, Commissioner Tambe.
I just wanted to say amazing job. You've been doing a wonderful job for the past few years, and every time I'm like, oh, wow, he's doing a lot. The next year you come back and you're like, well, just kidding. We're doing even more than last time, and your ability to just keep innovating and being creative has been honestly so incredible to watch, and we're just lucky to have you leading this charge. So congratulations on a great job and continuing to innovate and create every year. It's always something new and something creative and something that are really benefiting our teens. So the city and our teens are really, really lucky to have you. So thank you so much for all that you do.
That's awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Danielle, and thanks, Commissioner Tambe. Anyone else? Looks like no one. So let me just share my comments too before we move on to the next topic. So Danielle, absolutely, I just echo Commissioner Tambe's and just also add, every time we think that we can just copycat your program and try to do ours, but you come back and say, sorry, you are obsolete again. So that's exactly what it is. So you're coming back with something which we think that and one of the key things which I need to really, really appreciate is the 130, 125 people giving you 4.4 out of 5 rating, and 133 participants giving a rate of 100%, like good, excellent, very good. All of them are like.
Oh,
never-
so in full transparency, we only got, I would say, about 20 surveys. However, out of those,
representing.
they super enjoyed it.
I did enjoy, and because I had,
Yes.
at least I can say that I was participating in it a little bit.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, that's, yes, yeah.
So on the judging side, it was fantastic, and I couldn't see like so many innovations. We couldn't keep on going
Yeah.
out 43 projects, and it's amazing. And absolutely, and the big thing is that all these things are done in a remote. We are worried about how it can be done remotely, challenging. We throw all our excuses to do things, and sometimes it happens in a normal time frame. Yes, hey, come on, you can do it. But all of them are happening in remote with so many participants. Absolutely, I salute, and we will learn from you sometime. You need to coach us how to do this one so that we can take back the lesson. Thank you so much, Daniel. I appreciate
Absolutely. Well, thank you, and it's an honor. I'm happy to do it. But yeah, thanks for having me, and yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Take care.
Hey, bye-bye. Thanks, you too.
Sure. And now we will go to the approval of minutes, item number 2, meeting minutes of September 3rd, 2020. Hope all the commissioners are reviewed. Can I have a motion?
I do have a question.
Okay. I didn't see that. Go ahead.
This is a procedural question. So if there is something, actually, let me just ask the question. Like there are two, specifically, there's one action item where Commissioner Zhu recommended that the community garden webpage to include most recent information, etc. How do we follow up on these action items? Is there some way, some procedural something, or is it we just put it in the meeting minutes and then the appropriate departments follow up as required?
Yes, we take your feedback and we follow up. So,
okay. So, at what is the, like, for example, in that one, we didn't. Every action item usually has like a timeline. Or some, even if it is 6 months from now, some kind of a timeline, some kind of a closure.
So there's a difference. So I would say there's just a difference between an action item and a recommendation and just feedback. And so
I read the word recommended as an action item, but really it was just a recommendation. Okay. Okay, and then it's sort of similarly as with regard to the same sort of concept, I guess in my head, I got to get used to this. The athletic fields use policy updates. The staff has reached out to organizations to utilize and will move forward with community outreach. Will we ever get an update as to what that community outreach is at some point, or is that, action item taken, you'll hear about it?
Yeah, absolutely. We will continue to update as we move forward on all the projects.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. If no more questions, and do I have a motion from anyone?
I could make a motion to approve. I'll make the motion to approve rather than being wishy-washy.
Of the minutes of September 3rd, 2020.
Yes. So I need to restate it?
That's okay.
Okay.
I just appended you, so anybody seconding that?
I second it.
Excellent. And let's go for a vote.
I approve.
Chair Kumarapan,
Yes.
Vice Chair Stanek,
Yes.
Commissioner Tombe,
Yep.
Commissioner Begor, Commissioner
Approve.
Shu, Commissioner Shu,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay, motion passed with 5-5. Thank you. And any postponements, Whitney? I don't think so, but I just want to double check. No. Okay, no postponements. Okay, now let's go to oral communications. I do have one public on it. And if anything is not on the agenda, and if you want to speak, please, you can raise your hand and I'll allow again. Nope, it's not. Okay. Any written communications, Whitney, we have?
We did receive 2 written communications for the Rancho Rinconada item, and they've been published to the city website.
Website. Okay, thank you. And let's go to the old business, item number 3, which is Rancho Rinconada Recreation and the Park District update. And the recommended action here is receive an update on the Rancho Rinconada Recreation and the Park District and discuss the next steps. So
Yes.
I think starts with the staff report. I think Dr. Joanna.
Yes.
Joanna.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to say those first 3 R's are a mouthful to get out. Rancho Rinconada Recreation and Park District. We're happy to have Molly James, our recreation coordinator, who is responsible for all things aquatics, provide you a brief presentation on this item. And also with us this evening is Kevin Davis, who is the general manager out at Ranchos. And so I'm sure he'd be happy to answer any questions that you have after the presentation. I just wanted to kind of circle back and let everybody know, I know this is a very complicated and complex topic. And I want to reiterate how important decorum is when we engage in discussing a topic of this complex nature. And I am confident that we can convey our opinions and viewpoints about this topic in a respectful manner. So we're happy to have this discussion, and I'm going to turn it over to Molly for the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Great to see you all again. All right, so tonight we're going to be providing you with your update on Rancho Rinconada. The agenda for this item includes a timeline, the Rancho Rinconada Recreation and Park District Strategic Visioning and Planning Process, the RRRPD Board of Directors, data obtained from RRRPD, and then finally our recommended action. So moving on to the timeline. Here's a brief timeline of events from the last 9 months. LAFCO published the results of the special study on January 29th. On February 18th, the City Council accepted the special study from LAFCO and added reviewing the special study and community outreach to the Commission's work program. Between February 18th and March 5th, staff worked to compile a list of survey questions for the special district residents to present to the Commission. At the March 5th Parks and Recreation Commission meeting, LAFCO presented the special study to the Commission. And at the same meeting, the Commission also reviewed the survey questions that were prepared by staff. The survey was available for Rancho Rinconada residents from March 7th through March 23rd. And on March 16th, we received that fantastic shelter-in-place order. Moving forward to August 6th, the Commission reviewed the survey results and requested more information from staff. In the meantime, RRRPD initiated an RFP for a strategic visioning process. Proposals were due on August the 14th. At the September 10th RRRPD meeting, the board selected Roush Communications as their vendor for this project. And at the same meeting, 4 new board members were selected to officially be seated this December. And moving on to the next slide. Roush Communications was selected to design and execute the strategic visioning and planning process. The RFP requested that the 3-year strategic plan process include background research on RRRPD history, as well as the current leadership team, benchmarking on the RRRPD organization with other similar sized nonprofits and organizations, Also community outreach through focus groups, interviews, and surveys. And then a SWOT analysis to determine strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. A timeline for this work has yet to be established. One of the main concerns noted in the LAFCO special study was board dysfunction and a lack of quorum during a portion of 2019. However, on September 10th, 4 new board members were selected to fill the vacant seats. So now the board is full with 5 members, and these board members will officially be seated this December. Kevin, who's here with us tonight, is the general manager at Rancho Rinconada, and he kindly provided us with the following data. In the first chart, we have revenue, noting that private swim lessons were the largest source of programming revenue. On our next slide, we have overall facility usage. 10% of RRRPD users are special district residents, and another 24% are Cupertino residents. And then finally, on our third table, we have the breakdown of usage based on residency. Almost 66% of RRRPD users are non-Cupertino residents. And then finally, our recommended action. As we mentioned earlier, one of the concerns that was highlighted in the LAFCO special study was board dysfunction and a lack of quorum. So taking this into account, staff recommends affording the newly seated board members time to work through the strategic visioning process, which will include thorough community outreach. Staff will inform the commission of any updates and outcomes when they are available. And that concludes the presentation. Any questions?
Thanks, Molly. Great presentation. I just wanted to hop in, and I know that there were a couple of questions regarding the parking near the Barrington Bridge area, which is directly off the parking area that had come up at the last meeting. And I did get confirmation today that those are in fact private driveways. So they are restricted as far as having people access them to park in that area. So I know that was additional information the commissioners were interested in attaining. And so that was confirmed today. So sorry, it wasn't in the staff report in time to publish.
Thank you. Thank you, Molly Jane. So let's go to any clarifying questions. I'm sure that commissioners will have it. Let's go one by one. Commissioner Tambe, you have it first. You're on mute, yeah.
Yeah, also just FYI, I hurt my jaw, so I can't speak properly. And so I apologize if I sound a little weird. I was just wondering, when we got this from City Council, they had opted to give us have us do one of 3 options. And so I was just curious, since this is a 4th option, has this actually been approved by the City Council or by the city manager as like a 4th option that we're even allowed to take? Because I believe it was supposed to be either leave as is, have partial incorporation, or completely folded into Cupertino.
Yes, that was what was in the LAFCO report. So the report is those 3 options that you just discussed. Status quo, so leave as is, or absorb it as the city, or have it as the other. I think the 3rd option is not really what the commission was interested in pursuing from information that I had been given when I got here, but I could be incorrect in that. So what the work program has designated is the commission to provide a recommendation. So this is not a 4th option. This is just the course of action to be able to provide that recommendation.
Okay. And then the other question I have is, were we able to juxtapose the survey from before with the 10% of users who were actually from the district, or not?
We have not been able to compare the information as of yet, based on what we received as to who the actual users are.
Okay. So it's still just 10% of the people who actually use the facility are Rancho Rinconada, and 65 point whatever % are not even Cupertino residents, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have Commissioner Mina. Please. Commissioner.
I just want to clarify the recommended action for the last page of the slides. So in our subcommission meeting with staff, we heard about this recommendation, but Sashi and I, we have some concern. We hope to know the timeline for the Rancho board for the doing the strategic visioning process. If they can do it in a couple months, we think we can wait for them. But because now we haven't got their timeline, if the timeline is very long, maybe we recommend our commission on our city side, we can do something to move forward. So next week, there will be another rental meeting. So I plan to join their Zoom meeting and to see if we can collect more information.
So I don't know if Kevin has an update perhaps on that item.
Hello, commissioners. Is it all right if I do have an update on the timeline if it's helpful?
Sure. Please, Kevin, go ahead.
I spoke with Martin Rausch, the primary consultant on the strategic planning issue, and he believes that it will be wrapped up sometime in the May or June timeframe. Currently, there's going to be, because the new board members need to be seated in December and their input needs to be collected, there'll be a little bit of time for the orientation process. Staff will be doing work with the consultants, and then it'll take a few months for all of the meetings with various stakeholders. It's more than a few months, but that's the current timeline.
Okay. So let's see other next one, Commissioner Stanek. Yeah, let's see next to you.
Hi, yes, thank you. Kevin, thank you for joining us for the meeting. And also, I know a lot of this data came from you, and so it's very enlightening, and I really appreciate the work that you did to get this to us. Is the value of the contract, is that public? Is that something you can share with us?
Yes, yeah, it is public. I believe it's not to exceed $24,000 and a few $100s. I don't remember the exact dollar amount.
Okay, that's round numbers. That it it's going to vary anyway. So I appreciate knowing that. And one of the requirements is community outreach. How is community defined in that? Is it the Rancho Rinconada residents, or is it anything beyond that?
I believe that's really going to be up to Martin Rausch, the primary consultant on this issue. This consultant does work with special districts all across California, is quite prolific. So I trust that whatever he feels is the best group to look at will be what's included. I do imagine it will include some residents as well.
Okay, and I didn't see it in the RFP, but have you discussed with them the discussions that we're having right now between LAFCO and Cupertino and the district for the possible consolidation?
Yeah, it is in the proposal that they submitted that there is a bit about the LAFCO issue. So I do imagine that's going to be one of the items that's going to be brought up during the process.
Okay, and is this, the contract is signed? If for some reason, if we were to go forward with some other decision, would that $24,000 be already obligated by the district to pay?
I believe so, yes.
I mean, it makes sense if you went ahead and did the contract. You can't just go, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Those were my questions for now.
Thank you,
Certainly.
Ms. Stanek. Now I see Commissioner Soshi.
I had is really to Kevin with regard to the timeline. Can you be a little bit more specific as what you expect between the May and June timeframe, and how likely is it that will happen in the May and June timeframe? Whatever it is that you're expecting.
Certainly. So my understanding is that I'm just going to take a look at the timeline here. We're going to be starting with staff in December and January, mostly putting together documentation for the consultant to look at. This will guide the process. Then starting in February, there will be workshops with the board of directors where the consultant will be interviewing each of the board members. Then in March, there'll be workshops with the public. And in April, all of that information is going to be assembled, presented in May, and then it could take 1 or 2 meetings with public comment and whatnot. But yeah, it should be wrapped up relatively quickly.
Okay, and the documentation, can you comment on what type of documentation to guide the process? I mean, what exactly what exactly would you be providing to this person, and what is it that you would have to go look for? Have you any idea of how much you have and how much you're going to look for?
So this is our first time going through this process, so I can't say with certainty exactly what will be requested, but I do believe that our policies will be a good place to start. Policies, bylaws, taking a look at what the organization looks like. Typically, consultants need to find out what the parameters are, what kind of district, what's the budget look like. I'm sure that he's going to want to look at our independent audits, things of that nature, to see, really what the organization looks like from a kind of a big picture standpoint.
Okay. So, I mean, those are the usual, and they might have something different. So of these things that you mentioned, how much of it do you have handy? How much of it will you have to go dig? Do you have a general idea? Because all of these things must be located somewhere at this point.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, so most of the big documents are very easy to access. I think some of the things that might take a little bit longer would be accessing certain data. Luckily, we've already done it, so maybe that's sufficient. So for example, how many are residents, how many are non-residents? We've already done that for the commission, so that might be a lot faster. We've done a few kind of, we've looked at a couple financial, at the finances for 10 years, so we can provide that to them. But if they have any specific requests that they want us to look into, that could take a little bit longer. I can't imagine what it would be, but if it's something we haven't done before, then we'll have to open up our books and start looking through compiling reports and whatnot. But actually at this point, I think we've really done quite a bit of work, not just for the commission, but also for LAFCO as well, putting reports together.
Okay. So now the consultant, you said, was then going to go in February to interview all of the board. Is there a way that while you guys are looking for the process for the documentation, that they could start the interviews, because it's just getting information from the board? It doesn't require them to read all the documentation or understand all the documentation. Just, is there something going on? Can some of these tasks be made parallel?
I don't think the issue is staff time. It's probably more on the consultant's timeline.
I see. And then there was a survey. There's some kind of a survey that you guys are putting out. When is that scheduled to go out?
I'm sorry, yes. Staff is not putting out a survey currently.
No, not the staff. I thought your Rancho is putting in. Joanne, did I get that wrong?
Yeah, I think that you misunderstood what Molly was reporting on. Our staff put together the survey that went out to the Rancho residents, and those are the results you reviewed a couple meetings ago. So that was done by...
That I understand perfectly. My issue was that I think when we had the subcommittee meeting, or subsequently we had a meeting where you suggested, the results of that survey weren't, conclusive. There was very little information that came out of it. It was like 4% of the people that were the survey results were like 4% return. So that doesn't make it's not of any value. So I think we had talked about Rancho doing their own survey. Did I miss that somewhere? So there's no survey at all being done by Rancho. We're going to rely on that 4% survey to come to any kind of conclusion?
No, I think what we're trying to recommend is through this visioning process, they will engage and do community outreach. And so that, I don't know what that will look like yet, but they will engage in that and get some results, obviously.
Okay, so the March timeframe of the community outreach may or may not involve a survey.
It may or may not. It may or may not. I imagine that there's going to be multiple methods of collecting data. For sure, there'll be workshops and potentially individual interviews, but beyond that, I don't know what other techniques Roush has in store.
Okay. And then, so let's just say May, June comes around and something has happened. They either don't have sufficient information. What happens then? Are we just going to extend the timeline? Is there some kind of a penalty for not finishing in time? What happens then? Just from this is just, I'm not suggesting that it will be delayed. I'm just asking if I write a contract with somebody, that's my first question. It's like, are you going to meet your deadline or not? And then what happens if you don't? That's where I'm coming from.
Right. Actually, we were okay with a longer timeline, and it was a consultant who wanted to wrap up a little bit earlier. So I think that the process and the timeline, given how many of these plans this particular consultant does, I think that they're very confident in that timeline.
So that's good to know. But then coming back, then they are dependent on you providing that information, and if for some reason that gets delayed, the whole process gets delayed. So where are the checks and balances in order to meet a reasonable timeline of May or June?
I don't foresee any particular delay on staff side.
Okay. All right. That's all I had.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Tambe.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a little bit confused on like just timelines and stuff. So who was it that decided to contract with this consultant?
Certainly. So the board put out an RFP, and in the RFP, it had a section on how to evaluate. So what happened at that point is then staff took a look at all the proposals, scored according to the RFP, and then made a recommendation. The board accepted that recommendation.
This is the Rancho staff, right? Not
correct. Yes. Sorry, I'm used to talking to my the Rancho board. So it gets confusing.
No worries. And then and that's the existing boards, so not the new board members, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And traditionally, how are board members, like, how do they normally get into office?
At Rancho. At Rancho, historically, there hasn't been a ton of interest in joining the board. So typically when someone wants to join, then another board member will simply step off and not have a competition at all. So that means that we've had a lot of board members who've stayed on for 20 years. So this is going to be it's actually a very exciting time for us, because we're going to have 4 out of 5 new board members, a lot of fresh blood, a lot of fresh ideas, and we're going to be starting the strategic planning process. So this is going to be very fun.
So is there like a voting process? Like, do the community members vote, or is it just self-selecting because there's no real competition?
No, there is a vote. So the last vote was actually in 2018. However, for this one, because there was 4 seats, there was enough seats for everyone, so there was no competition. But typically that would be more than enough to have a competitive voting process. On the ballot, November ballot, same as,
Oh, so are the people who are selected for the December, do they have to go through the ballot process too?
Yeah, it did. But then because there was no one running against them, the ROV seated all of them, or will seat them.
Wait, the what will seat them?
The registrar of voters.
Oh, okay. So because the citizens don't actually have to vote for or won't be voting for anyone. It'll just be whoever's interested because the number, like there's enough open seats. So nobody
Correct,
actually
yes.
nobody actually got voted in.
Not this time. 2018 they did. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you. And Commissioner Mina again. You go.
Yeah, I heard you're talking about the citizen engagement and the community outreach. I'm still wondering, so because now we have a lot of limitation due to SIP, what kind of community outreach the consultant can do? I'm wondering, is Kevin have any idea about that? So yeah. Do you have any more information to share?
Unfortunately, I don't. Again, this is our first time going through this process, but I do imagine that Roush Communication and consultants will have several different modes to collect input. I do know that some will be over Zoom, but again, we have a rental space available, so we can do in person as well, although I just don't know if that's advisable given the current pandemic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other clarifying questions from anyone? No. So I do have a couple of them, Kevin. Thank you again for coming here to help us to clarify some of these. First question. So when you mentioned about the RFP, and you said it board approved, and at this point there is only one board member, correct? Today.
No, there's 3 board members right now.
Oh, there are 3 board members already. So you had a quorum and they approved it. Okay.
Yes.
I see. Okay. Thank you. And the second question is that I do remember there was a similar study. I forgot exactly, but there is a consultant that did some study and there was a report last year, or I think right? There was a study presented by a consultant. What is that? Don't we have enough information, or this particular one, the new consultant is going to do is completely different than that of the study? Trying to understand what these two studies are going to be. What the difference between these two?
Absolutely. So if I understand correctly, I believe the previous consultant, that was a LAFCO consultant. And that consultant was specifically looking at whether there was an advantage to merging with the city or becoming a subsidiary of the city or remaining as a status quo. And so that consultant took us through the pros and cons of each of those different options, and then also laid out how that would actually take place and whatnot. That was the LAFCO study. The current study is a strategic planning session, which really looks a lot deeper. It's a document very similar to the city's general plan, very similar to that, but for a park district and much smaller.
Okay, this just assuming that that consultant is going to just think about coming up with a strategic plan for the district. There's nothing to do with any of the previous LAFCO consultants' results kind of ending up in, okay, whether it's good to run it, or to merge it, nothing related to it. It's just a purely on strategic plans for the district, as if that it is going to run on its own. Is that right?
Yes, it is as if it's going to run on its own. However, because LAFCO and the potential for merging or becoming a subsidiary district of the city is an option, I think that's going to that's going to be one of the priorities in there, is to look at that and see whether there's an advantage, whether the new board still feels the same way that the old board did as well.
Okay, so maybe just a clarifying on that part. So the consultant will provide strategic plan for the district, recommendation to the board, which whether should be there or to merge with the Cupertino district. So do you think that that also will include that decision? One is a strategic plan. What are the initiatives you can do plus that?
So the strategic plan isn't going to be focusing necessarily on the LAFCO issue. Really, it's more of a guiding document about the goals, the mission of the district, and then also taking a look at some of the big issues that are going to be coming up and making those priorities. So if the consultant identifies that there's a significant interest in, I'm just going to throw this out there, merging with the city or not merging with the city, then they could make that a goal and then set goals in there. And again, this would go before the board, the Rancho board, and the Rancho board could say, yes, we like this, or no, we don't like this. So let's just say the strategic plan says, okay, there's all these people who love the city, we want to be with the city. Then they would say, okay, we're going to set a goal. The general manager is going to approach, LAFCO or the city and start initiating this process or something like that by this date. Or maybe conversely, they identify that the residents of Rancho are quite happy with the current status quo. Then that consultant might say, okay, well, in that case, we're going to, I don't know, focus on something else, or perhaps maybe do outreach and tell the residents how things are good right now. I'm not really sure. So it's not really focused on LAFCO, but that will be a piece.
Okay, thank you. And I do see any other clarifying questions? Okay, none. So with that, let's go to public comment. I do have one hand raised. I think William, you're allowed.
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Sorry, go ahead.
You have me as William Merritt. Okay.
William Merritt. So I'm trying to figure it out. Did I remember or not? Thank you.
Called, my husband has the big computer and I have the little bad one. We ordered a new one for me. Anyway, thank you so much. Yes, this has been a very interesting discussion. I will tell you right now that Kevin has run the board in Rancho as professionally as anyone I have seen in any of the city meetings in Saratoga, Los Altos, Santa Clara, San Jose, Capitola, and County of Santa Cruz. And I mean, these are in actual city council and planning commission meetings, because I have been to many other city council and planning commission meetings. And Kevin has done as professional a job as any planner in any of those cities. I can testify that. I have been associated with the Rancho Rinconada Recreation and Pool District since I became a homeowner in 1995. That's 25 years. My great aunt was an original owner from 1952. So I grew up being aware of the pool complex. I am very, very happy with the current board and with Kevin and with the staff members. It is a professional outfit. They take a great deal of time and effort. Look at all the details. I was at the Rancho meeting last time when they settled on Roush. He was introduced. They have very good professional Zoom meetings. Everyone can attend, like you're attending here with Zoom, if you have a computer that works. And I am frankly extremely happy with the way the Rancho Rinconada, our pool and board special district is functioning. And I look forward to having it function just as well in the future. We have to remember that there is $1 million of Rancho Rinconada assets in that property. And before there was any incorporation of the special district into the city of Cupertino, those $1 million have to be retained on site. They are an amenity for the residents of Rancho Rinconada, and they cannot go into the general ledger, if I'm using the correct word, for the city, because when things go in there, they disappear. The $1 million have to be retained on site as assets or given back to the community of Rancho Rinconada if the property is absorbed into Cupertino. I don't want that to happen. I liked having it the way it is. The pool there is not large enough to accommodate the issues that Blackberry Farm has. Blackberry Farm should go to 12 months being open. They should put a cover over their pool. That's what that was bought for. Also, Rancho Rinconada Special District is on the eastern side of Cupertino, adjacent to Lawrence Expressway and West San Jose. We were in the county till 2000.
So Julian, your time is up, so it's really
Our general public is part of West San Jose and the rest of Cupertino, so we can't be dinged for not taking on the rest of the city. We weren't even in the city till 2000. Anyway, I'm upset, but I like it. I think that it's operating very well. Kevin is a class.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Sorry, I need to. Thank you. Okay. I don't see any other public available to make comments. So now the discussion by commissioners. If any commissioner want to have any open discussion or any questions, this is an option before we move to the next steps. Commissioner Nina, yes, please.
I just want to share some public information. Can I share my screen?
I think so. Let's see. How do I? Whitney, can you?
Oh yeah, I see the I see the button. Yeah, I saw the button. Okay. Good. I want to share a pathway of where is my screen?
Yep, I can see it.
But I cannot see that anymore. Let me check. Oh, okay, I saw it. So this actually this is a screenshot from Google Maps. This is a corner by the Lawrence and Bollinger. So you can see the Rancho Rinconada pool is on the bottom right side. Today I want to show you, you see the red circle. I circled the fifth, between the fifth and the sixth house on Wanderlich Way. If you count from Bollinger, you see the between the fifth and the sixth house, there should be a public pathway. Maybe you can open a Google map on your computer and zoom in, you can see. But when I moved in Cupertino 10 years ago, I tried to look for this pathway because with this one, our community member can walk to the Rancho Rinconada pool very easily. But without it, we have to go follow the green line. That means we go along the Bollinger and then go to the pool. But actually that road is pretty dangerous, especially for little kids. I saw little kids just running and playing along Bollinger, but the cars on Bollinger are very fast. And when they cross the little street, there's some car from Bollinger, from Lawrence, they turn right from Lawrence. And if they turn right to the pool, that's very dangerous for little kids. But when I moved here, I got the property map and the surrounding area map. I saw the pathway, I tried to find it, but I asked around and I go there myself, I cannot find it. And recently, so when we started this Rancho Rinconada issue, and Joanne and I had a conversation and we realized there must be someone, they blocked the public pathway and maybe make a fence to block it. But the pathway, why there is a pathway, actually it's very important for the surrounding community. I use the pink line to circle this area. This area actually is they have private road. So that means this area, the people pay HOA for this part. So people, if they want to go to Rancho, they cannot park by the road in the pink line, in the circle, but they can park in other community, maybe Wanderlich or maybe other street. So if we have that pathway, that means people from the surrounding community can easily go to the pool. But now this pathway is blocked, but people cannot park in the pink circle. So it's very difficult for them to park their car and then go to the pool. And I have, as a resident in Rancho Rinconada district, I just submitted a request to public work and hope they can look at this issue. Why even in Google Map and in LifeCoast map and in the property map I got when I purchased my house, we all see there's a public pathway, but now there's no. And I'm not sure if Kevin know anything about it. Looks like something didn't managed well, so the public pathway just disappear and no one noticed that. Okay, that's what I want to share.
Thank you, Commissioner. I know. So if Kevin, if you think that if you have any answer, you can share it too. If not, it's okay. We will.
Can I stop sharing?
Actually, I believe the city said that was part of the city's. I understood it was part of our district. That has been blocked before the year 2000. So I'm not sure when it happened, but it happened a long time ago. And I believe that the City Public Works had said at one point that that is actually part of the city of Cupertino. I'm not really sure whose it is at this point.
Okay, thank you. I think, thanks, Commissioner Mina, for this update. Definitely something I think you're working already with the city, and then let us know if you have any update later. Thank you. And Commissioner Shashi, you have something to talk? Yeah, please go ahead.
To reiterate, I think Joanne already has taken an action from our subcommittee meeting to kind of figure out the closure on that, or at least she's passed it forward to Public Works to kind of figure out why that path was blocked in the first place and what you can do to open that up. I think part of the concept of people around there not using the pool is because of that, blocked pathway. It looks like it's a separate little private pool. People don't seem to know that, it's all part of the district. So that, Kevin, should be something that should also be provided in part of your documentation to the people that are, the consultant, or at least the consultant should pick that up. But if not, that will be a key part of the whole, of that whole evaluation, because that ties directly into the parking available. And that kind of, whether we want to access that or not is heavily dependent on the parking, or at least to a certain extent dependent on the parking. So that's a very critical part of, the evaluation as to why there was that path was blocked. I mean, how did it get blocked? Why did it get blocked? Somebody needs to figure that out.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Sashi. And I see Commissioner Tambe.
I was actually wondering, Commissioner Mina, what was it you who identified this issue?
I identified this issue when I purchased my house in Cupertino, but I asked around, and it seems nobody knows it, and they didn't think there should be a pathway. So I dropped this question. But recently, during the review process, and we discussed with staff, and we realized there should be a pathway. Even in LifeCoast map, we see that clearly. Then we just raise this question and ask for the public work.
Okay, and Kevin, did this ever come up at any of the? I know you can't necessarily speak for the board, but to your best of your knowledge, has the board ever been aware of this, or did they identify this as an issue, or did they know about this?
Yes, this is something we've known about for some time. During maybe in 2013, I think I discovered some documentation that dated back to maybe 30, 40 years ago, where it was a discussion about that particular piece of land. That's when I discovered about it. And then I talked to some of my board members who also know about it. At the time, there were, larger issues at hand. And of course, now that we're here, it looks like it may or may not even belong to Rancho. So I guess that's something that we'll have to follow up on.
Wait, sorry, just for a little more clarification. So you guys knew about it 7 years ago. You took it to the board. It wasn't followed up on at all or what was the, like, I don't understand what happened in the past 7 years.
Sure, yeah. So that particular strip of land predates my position there by decades.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
at that
understand
point,
that it's really, really old.
it's not exactly a burning issue at that point. And in 2013, the district was shedding about $140,000 a year, which is a pretty large piece of our budget. And at that time, we were largely operating 2.5 months of the year. So at the time, the decision had been made, let's focus on increasing the programs throughout the year, spreading it out, giving more programs, and also bringing in more revenue, which we did. The following year, we made $100,000 instead of losing 140, and we started pushing our program. So that was the issue going on at the time.
Okay.
And there's been other things since then. So it's not that it's not important, it's simply that there were other
Things
issues
on the docket. Okay. And then when was it only for our commission that you guys did the analysis of what community you serve, like the whole like 10%, 65% thing?
Yes, we did that for the commission. We were vaguely aware of the numbers, but it doesn't really play a huge factor.
Why?
Well, I'm not really sure why it would. We provide services that the citizens of Cupertino and residents of Rancho like. You know, there's not really a differentiation where the people across the street in San Jose want a different program. So it was more about providing the programs that people overall want.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Thank you. So I guess like in general, one of the things that I'm a little, and this is not to Kevin, this is just a general comment. One of the things that I'm a little bit confused about is like, it's the Rancho Rinconada like district citizens are paying, they're not paying their taxes fully into the city. A portion is going to this area, and only 10% of the people who even utilize the space are ones who are actually like paying for it through taxes. Meanwhile, there's a significant chunk of people from Cupertino who are utilizing the space. There's also a very large chunk of people who have no financial support involved outside of paying for the classes or the actual services that they're paying. So to me, it just seems a little like, I don't understand the point of keeping things independent because it's not serving those people. I do recognize that if there's $1 million in assets, like that should stay committed to the areas because the district residents paid for that. But in general, I guess I'm just really like, my question to the commission, to my commissioners is like, what is the point of kicking the can down the road? That we've had this like, yes, this particular road, has been known about for 7 years. And if it's a problem of community access, well, that should have been designed. I don't really see the point of waiting for a board that the community didn't even vote on, likely because they didn't even know, since only 10% of the users are from the community. It just seems very like insular. It seems very like not transparent. And I don't really see what the issue is with going forward with this, what the city council asked, which is one of those 3 things listed. I don't know why we're kicking the can down the road, because that's what it feels like.
Sure. Maybe we'll come to that. Before that, I think Commissioner Stanek wanted to say something, and then we can have the discussion. So,
yes, thank you. So if you look at some of the history here, so LAFCO did their report, and somewhere back in, I believe, 1982, they said that this district had what they considered this 0 sphere of influence, and indicating that this district should eventually not exist as an independent special district. And I'm reading this from the report and our commission agenda, where this was pulled from the report. And so there's been some acknowledgement that the district itself is not serving a purpose. I mean, it's doing a lot of work. And so let's not, I don't want that to be taken as any kind of, knock against the work that the people there are doing. The issue that was identified is that there is a duplication of services delivered within the boundaries of Cupertino, and I'm reading this, so I'm not just making this up, which creates inherent inefficiencies and fragmented service delivery and impedes long-term planning for the delivery of recreation services to the residents of Cupertino. So that was really, I think, the problem that was identified in these reports and why this has started coming up. This was presented to our city council back in February, as Molly identified. And there were 3 options presented to the council. Of those 3 options, the council was not interested in one of them. And so they didn't even ask us to review all 3 of them. They asked us to review 2 of them. One of them was to leave as is, and the other was to incorporate it within the city. So they were not interested in the option to keep it as a special district within the city. So I'm just going over some of this because we have new commissioners, we have new staff, and I think it's really important to understand what is the ask of the Parks and Rec Commission right now. So what they asked us to do is to, they added it to the Parks and Rec Commission, this is the council, to our work program to review the report, poll, have a robust discussion with the district to determine if they can support either option 1 or option 2. The commission would then return a recommendation to the city council in either April or May. Now that April or May is the last April or May, 2020, right? So not 2021. Now we know things have happened. COVID hit. Nobody expected COVID and things got delayed. So let's acknowledge that and realize we can't be on that timeline anymore. So we did a survey. We were good soldiers. We said, let's go engage the residents. That's what the council asked us to do. And let's go find out whether the residents want option 1 or option 2. And that survey was completely inadequate. The response was completely inadequate. It does not represent a good selection from the community. It doesn't, there's no way that you can say that represents the community of Rancho Rinconada. There just were not enough responses. And so then we were left with, gee, now what do we do? The council has asked us to engage and come back. And how do we get that survey or that feedback done? Well, what we've seen today with some of the data that has come back is that survey actually represents the level of activity and participation from Rancho Rinconada. In fact, it may be an oversubscription of the people who actually use the facility, because based on the participation usage of 53 residents out of 530, and Kevin, please feel free to correct me if I'm interpreting that incorrectly. 53, only 10% of the usage is from the Rancho Rinconada area. And that 53 represents, if every one of those are from a different household, that's less than 4% of the Rancho Rinconada households. And if you look at the population, it's less than 1% of the households. So really our ask in the survey and from the council didn't make sense, because what we didn't know was that this was really a much broader community asset. And so you can never get a valid survey response when you're asking a question that is invalid to begin with. You're looking at a population that doesn't represent who you're trying to get to. So I think that's a big issue for us. And I think we've all learned a whole lot coming through this. I wanted to make a couple of points. Minna, that it's a great identifier of that access. That was identified in the LAFCO report as well. And it was identified and said that a neighbor, a private neighbor, had personally blocked off that passageway. And, you know, I don't think it's not part of the RRPD district. That's not Kevin's issue, because it's not within his purview of running the swim center. It's not on his property. It's not part of his property. That really shouldn't be his to fix. The city needs to go fix that, because it's city property. When it was annexed, that must have come over to the city with all the rest of the Rancho Rinconada households. And so that's really a city problem that the city needs to fix. And so, I don't think that should be something that Kevin, like he said, they had a lot of other things to do, and they were running a swim program. They're not looking at an access point that's not even part of their purview. So I also wanted to just talk about another aspect of the report, and when the recommendation from staff is let's let the board settle in. I don't think that the issue that came to us was about the board and their functioning. I mean, that's one of the issues that was brought up, but we were not tasked to determine if the board is functional. We were tasked to determine if we should recommend option 1 or option 2 to the city council based on input that we've received. And I think we've done a lot of work. And what we've learned is that, again, this is a very big community asset. One of the issues in the LAFCO report was that in 2013, and I think what we can see here in 2020 as well, is that the board members all ran unopposed. And again, this is their wording. It eliminated election costs, but also indicating a lack of resident involvement. The service review stated that the lack of elections and opposing candidates reflects a lack of candidate and resident interest in the district's activities and governance. So what we have here is we say this is a board that has stepped up to do this. But again, we can't say that the Rancho Rinconada community, they didn't have any say in this because they ran unopposed. So they didn't have to have a say. And so we shouldn't look at this board as something that has been voted on, because they haven't. And in fact, that was identified as one of the issues that LAFCO had in their report. And I think that's part of the concern here. And so, so I wanted to make all those points. And part of me thinks that having the consultant, the other point I want to make is the district has been asked to do a strategic plan for, I think, at least since 2013, maybe since 2007. The LAFCO has said, where's your strategic vision? Where's your strategic plan? Where's your strategic plan? And now that the city is looking at taking it over and they're getting a new board, they have finally acted. But I think this is the report that's going to come out of this, the timing is just wrong. I think they are under the gun, and we don't have any way to tell them to do this report or not do it. Actually, they're under an obligation. They've said that they will do that. They've said it for 10 years. So why the impetus to do it right now, why it shouldn't wait until after we make this decision? Because I think then we'll know. Because if they're looking at this now, they've got two completely different scenarios that they're going to have to consider. Is it going to be part of the city, or is it going to be standalone? And they don't know what the answer to that is. So I think it is bad timing to do this. But again, we don't have any say over them right now. They can go ahead and continue to do this, but I don't think we should wait. I think we need to move forward and let the council know what we found out in terms of what the percentage of the Rancho people use the facility, what percentage of the facility users are from Rancho or from Cupertino or from the surrounding areas, and make our decisions based on that. If the council wants to wait until this is done, I think they have every right to do that. But I think what the council asked us to do is to come back, is to go out, survey, find out more information, come back with more information, and give them a recommendation of whether we should incorporate it or not.
Thanks. I think, yeah, I have some points on it too. So maybe, but let Commissioner Sashi go first, since you raised the hand, and then I will add a point on yours, Commissioner Stan.
Right. So, Carol, thank you. That was a very good wraparound of everything that happened. I didn't have a lot of history, so that was good to go back and look at all of that. My concern, I mean, I agree with 90% of what you say, that, there was concern about the board. Now the board's got on, and now we've got to kind of go with what the board says. Now the board itself doesn't, the consultant itself doesn't have a sense of direction, so he's going to have to choose between, this or that. My concern, however, is still that the survey that we did versus the actual number of people that use it, I could not tell that is consistent. That was my issue when we first got the results of the survey. At this point, I still am not very clear that the survey results are proportional to the number of people that actually use it. Now, am I to understand that there are 53 people that use that? What are the exact percentage? Can somebody actually tell me?
I think Carol, Commissioner Stanek, you looked at it, you said, so you can please go ahead and share it.
So that was in the data that was provided to us, that's in our packet. If you look down at the charts, you can see, I think there's attachment A. There's 2019 overall facility usage, and I don't know if that's, it says 2019, oh, maybe that's just, for the individual program usage that they're using 2018. But for the facility usage, it says Rancho Rinconada residents, number 53, 10%. So it's 53 out of 531 for the year.
So sorry. Kevin, can you just clarify, because I know we had a discussion about this. I think that there's some other information that's not provided about statistics based on users for Public Swim.
Yes, absolutely. So the data that you're looking at is only for programs that we collect residency from. So people who come in for Public Swim, we don't know where they come from. That's not really a piece of information that we would collect. This is just for things like swim lessons, hall rentals, swim team, things like that. And the number that you're looking at is actually the residents. So if you have one family of 6, they may use multiple programs, but we only counted them as one. So bear that in mind. Did that answer the question?
To an extent. So what I'm not able to understand from that 53% is, that was exactly where I have the issue. That 53, the number is, and I think twice, or somebody's mentioned it before, that it could be, five households, it could be 10 households, it could be 53 households, and we don't have a way to do that. And if you compare that against what was provided as survey results, we may or may not have the exact number. And Kevin, do you even have a way to track, or is it just that this doesn't give you the clarity? Do you have a way to track how many of these residents actually use your facility? As in households, as opposed to just the number.
No,
that's households. That is households. The 53 is 53 households. The addresses, physical addresses in Rancho.
So 53 out of 181, is that
No, 53 out
No.
of 531, right? Overall?
530?
Yes. Yeah. So of all the addresses that we collect for all of our programs, 53 would be Rancho
Yeah.
residents.
So maybe if I can just add, Sashi, just to clarify. So this is uniform across 128 households from Cupertino residents, and non-residents is 350 households. Let's put it. So the comparison wise, if you're comparing apple to apple, kind of it's all compared as a households. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about if you go and double click on what numbers, I think then, because we don't have the numbers on anything.
Okay, and in the survey, Joanne, was there clarity on whether it was households?
I think we had over 70 unique responses, but we had 70 responses, but 50 some odd unique responses. So they were only supposed to respond one per household, and that was not necessarily the case. I think I need to call on Whitney to refresh my recollection on that.
Yeah, that's correct. We did have 70 some odd responses total, but 50 or so were actual verified Rancho residents. And then I think we did have 11 repeats amongst those 50. So probably in total would be around 40 households that we collected.
Does that help answer, Commissioner Sashi? It's around 40 households.
Yeah, because I don't remember that it was a 40 household information that we had. I mean, there was a disconnect, at least in my head, between the number of people that had attended. There was a significant disconnect between the number of households versus the number of households that answered the survey versus the number of households that actually use it. So
we had listed the number of residents in that area, and that was what, around 1,200?
1,200 plus, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that was where that disconnect came from, and looking at the number of responses and households versus the amount of houses there and people that live there. But we're saying when you compare the actual number of users from those households who are using Rancho and compare that with the number of people who also responded to our survey, it's much closer.
Okay. So I just want to give allow Commissioner Mina has something, and after Commissioner Tande. So Commissioner Mina, go ahead, please.
Oh, I just want to clarify my explanation for the pathway. It's not an unrelated issue because from the survey, we see a lot of residents, they had some incorrect information. They thought this Rancho Rinconada pool is only linked to a private community. But if there is really a public pathway, that means when they first designed this pool should have linked to the public community too. So that's why we did some study on that.
Okay. I do have some comments on, maybe I'll wait for, I think Commissioner Tambe, you have something. I just want to let you all speak up first. Go ahead.
Actually, it was from what Commissioner Mina had said. I actually think that's really important, is that the community members think it's a private pool. And I think, I think, Carol, thank you for sharing that, because I think you gave me a different framework than what I was working with. I think I was getting involved, my headspace in the wrong thing, which is not relevant for this. But I think, Commissioner Mina, you're spot on with what you said, which is that the citizens of that area who are contributing into this district don't even know that it's theirs. They don't know what they're contributing into. They don't know that they have access to it. And I think that's an issue. And we need to make sure that the residents who are paying for this actually have access. And it's only 10% of the facility's usage right now. Even if you include Cupertino residents, it's not even 50%. If 65% of the people who are using this facility outside of paying for classes don't contribute into the system, it is actually a community good. It is a community good primarily with tax money coming from Rancho Rinconada Special District people. And so I think that it's very important that this stays within Cupertino and that it stays within the Cupertino residents, because if this becomes a part of Cupertino more formally, those tax dollars go into Cupertino as a whole. And instead of having 65% of the usage of, I recognize it's not free swim, but 65% of the usage of a lot of these classes going to San Jose residents, we can keep it the same number, but we can make that apply to the people who are actually in Cupertino. It is a community good. We've proven that. It's not exclusive to Rancho Rinconada. It doesn't serve enough of a statistical percentage of the people in the Rancho Rinconada Special District to warrant saying it's exclusive to that group, because it's just not. The numbers show that it's not. So instead, we should do what LAFCO has wanted us to do for many years and incorporate it into Cupertino so that we can make sure that the Rancho Rinconada residents and the Cupertino residents have accurate information, they have accurate understanding, and they have good access and transparency into the community or into a community good and resource that they have. So that to me is like really, really, impactful from this. And I don't think we're gonna get any more information from doing more studies or more surveys, because only 53 households are involved when there's 1,200 that are out there. So it's not gonna do us any good to do more surveys. And it's not our job to worry about what the board is doing. They're running their own strategic plan. I mean, it sounds like LAFCO had been asking that for a long time, but that doesn't matter. They can do what they want to do. So that's my, my perspective on this. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go get a popsicle because this is just hurting so much.
Go ahead. I think we are putting more work for you too. So go ahead and have it. So in the meantime, let's two more commissioners again. I just want to inject one point, and Commissioner Stanek, I'll let you just inject. So I think these are the very, very valid points that are coming out, and I'm trying to figure it out. These are the action items we need to do. I'm sure that we are capturing it. Maybe at the end, I would like to, because this one, what Commissioner Mina said, and if that access is not there, then people may not know that may be the reason why utilization factor is too low. So I'm just learning based on the discussions and stuff, but let me allow Commissioner Stanek to go, please.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I would like to ask staff how they came up with their recommendation. What was their rationale for coming here? Because we ask staff to do a lot of work, and I know they think about these things a lot. And I don't know if any of the history of what the commission was asked to do played into that. And how did you come up with your recommendation of letting the new board settle and let the report be completed? So I really would like to hear that from you to understand that better.
Sure, thanks. So my understanding, I know I'm just starting my 5th month. I've been here for 4 months, but it's a very complex topic, and I've read the LAFCO report over and over again, because being in the absence of having these presentations made to me, I feel like there are some gaps, right? My understanding of what the work program item was for you all to make a recommendation to the council about either option A or option B. What I'm trying to do is facilitate your confidence in being able to provide a recommendation. And so the survey that occurred prior to my arrival, in my opinion, and maybe I misunderstood you all, did not have a lot of confidence. And some of the feedback you gave at the meeting in August was that you wanted additional community engagement. And so the reason why I pursued this recommendation is they're already establishing this and doing the outreach and the education that we were talking about. So why would the city duplicate those efforts and try and spend money and time and effort in doing the same kind of thing? So that was the intention behind this. If you feel confident enough in the information you have and the outreach that you've done, certainly I recommend that you make a recommendation. But that was not the understanding that I had based on my few meetings that I've been here with you all. So.
Thank you. I think Commissioner Nisha just went to get a popsicle and she cloned herself. I didn't know that you can do that magic. I didn't know that. That's awesome. I'm going to get one popsicle later. I know. So it looks like you may have the.
I'm sorry. One of my computers, I can see you here, but I can't hear you guys on this. So I'm sorry.
No worries. No, I'm just bringing some more liveliness. So thank you, Joanne. I think what I'm hearing, I'm just trying to add some more my points, and I know all the commissioners have spoken, and I think they have provided their inputs. But it looks like I do see the valid proposals or the actions, next steps. What I see is that definitely council has ordered or given us an instruction to go and help on it and come back with a recommendation. The recommendation, whether it is a final or intermediate, doesn't matter. They wanted to come back. They wanted us to come back. And this was like last April, May, whatever, but we couldn't do it. But still, waiting for another until May, June, another 1 year seems to be really, really long. And I think it looks like, so I think this is what I heard from Commissioner Stanek and also from others. I do think that we owe a response, whatever it could be, based on all the data we collected it. And this particular data today really reveals a lot of kind of a much more reinforcing some more data we had it, why the survey response could have been. Initially, we thought it is not reaching and it didn't reach to people. But I don't think that assumption is bad. That assumption is not right. Because at the time we made that decision, saying that, oh, maybe we didn't do it. Maybe the people didn't get it. But now coming back to, again, these are all some other things we need to connect the dots and to make the rational decision. So now I see that the usage factor comes, it's only 10%. And then we find out the new one, okay, there is no pathway, which means nobody even know that that's theirs. So they might not care about it, even responding to the survey, because I have no idea what are you talking about, right? So looks like there is a poll, and why are you talking to me? Because that belongs to someone, some private, why should I? So these are all bills logically make sense when you connecting the data. So that means we as a commission, I do feel that we have something even intermediate, whether it is a final recommendation or not, but a first initial recommendation and update to the council. I think I do feel we have enough data rather than just sitting on the data, and then this will become obsolete when it comes to May or whatever. I don't know whether we'll get any additional data. What I understood based on what Kevin said, that could be just a strategic thing, and they will talk about out there on it, nothing to do with on it, because it looks like it could be an optional. I don't see that as a primary. That means the consultant may not even pay attention to that part of it. That means we may not get enough data anymore, and we are also not planning to do. That means I do feel that we should take the data what we have, all the discussions we had, we should make a recommendation providing all the data, and I'm sure that the data can be provided by the staff with all of them when we put the package together to the council to present it. I do personally see there is a valid reason what Commissioner Stanek also said, that we owe some response, and we do have enough data and enough data points today to make our recommendation to the council. That's how I see it overall. Just listening into all of them and looking at the data, we need to connect the dots. We need to make a logical thing. That's why we are here for. And I do see that we have the responsibility. We're not asking staff to go and do another survey or counting. That's not. But I think we feel that what we have is sufficient right now to make a recommendation. So with that, let me stop there. Or maybe Commissioner Mina, before I wanted to see any. Okay, hold on. Commissioner Mina, go ahead, please. And then I think I can.
Yeah, and I think it seems most of the commissioners think, we can move forward, with our own pace. I agree with that, but now I think from what I got, all the information we collected, and to the recommendation for the council, between these, there's still one missing link. Does this special district can really benefit our city. Maybe we need staff to collect more information on how much city need to spend to improve the parking, maybe to improve the pathway and improve the facility, and how much our city can get, the revenue our city can get. So after we got that, we can decide if we should recommend our council to get this or maybe leave it there. Yeah, so that's a last factor.
Okay, I do have some points, but I'll wait for Commissioner Tampe to say something and then I will go. Go ahead, Commissioner Tampe. We cannot hear you. Hold on. Well, I'll try to unmute you.
I think that. Oh.
Yeah, now we can hear you now.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. So sorry, it's the bottom one that I hit.
You make me do. I need a popsicle now. I go twice and I said, oh my god, I need it.
So I think that's a really good point. It's my understanding from the past 6 years of really intensive study that we've done for the master plan that there's a pretty significant need and demand for parks and recreation space on the east side of Cupertino. And there's also a very high demand for aquatic facilities that's been a pretty consistent throughout the entire master plan process. And there is a proposal that we have selected it, but there was an option in the master plan for building like a brand new aquatic center. But it actually it is when the question was, is there a need? Like there's definitely a need, and it's going to be a lot cheaper for the city to invest in an existing facility and because there are renovations that need to be made. If I remember correctly from 3 meetings ago, there are renovations that need to be made, but I do to answer your question. Yes, there is a need and there is a high demand for it. And Chair, may I make a motion?
Yeah. So before Commissioner Tambe, just one thing. Yeah. So that one possibly this could. Okay. Sorry. Before I make my comment, and the Commissioner Sashi, is it okay? Okay. I saw hand raised, but let me go. So that's a good call out. But I think I would say this could be as part of the recommendation as well, right? The city will validate because council will now look at it. Okay, commission has given their recommendation. They are going to now ask the city, of course, whether it is going to be valid or not, because that's another body of it, right? So city council will ask, okay, Joanne and the city manager, do you think how viable it is? Commission has come back with whatever the recommendation, and assuming that the recommendation is going to merge, then they will ask. And if they put it together and match it, hey, I think that's a council's decision. That's what I see. There are 2 data points to council, one from us, one from the city on the viability and the ROI of this one and how quickly. That's how I see it. I just want to put that point on the table.
And so if you wouldn't mind, if I could just speak to that, just because I don't want to lose my train of thought. That was another reason why staff are recommending to wait on the strategic visioning process that is happening, because the consultant will do all of that analysis, where I know that you think the timeline is very long, but if staff have to do that analysis, it will actually take just as long, or if not longer, to analyze all those portions. There are some challenges with the property as far as parking goes. There are some additional challenges as far as the aquatic facility itself, ADA issues. ADA laws are changing all the time in order to come into compliance. And so all of that needs to be kind of reanalyzed. I know some of it was analyzed prior to my arrival, but I just want you all to be mindful of that. The one other thing that I want to mention is just from my limited amount of experience of watching city council meetings, the majority of council members' responses to staff are, how did you engage the community? What was your response? You know, how have you engaged the community to feel strongly about providing this recommendation? And so I just want to be mindful of that as we move forward in whatever direction we go.
Sure. Maybe before I allow Commissioner Tombe, I just wanted to again respond to yours, Director Joanne. So what I understood, again, I'm just going with what I learned today as individually. The strategic plan, I don't think that is about a viability plan. The strategic plan which they plan to do is about, what I understood from Kevin is about, okay, what programs or what can you do, or maybe increase the attraction rate for that program, or whatever strategically you can do as an independent entity. I don't think that any of that data will help. Maybe part of the data might help you or as a park and rec director to look at it. But this assessment, what I was talking about is about, okay, if that is a new property, new unit, new park is coming in, when I will integrate, it is kind of a merger and acquisition, right? What is an M&A cost? What is that we need to do? How I'm going to do that one? It's a viability of taking that one and integrating into city, that cost. Whether that performs as exactly today with the current programs, right? With the ADA compliance, whatever we had, because that, I don't think that it went on a major renovation recently where that ADA compliance are completely out of the kind of, I don't think so. But I think that these two are two different studies. That's how I see it. One study, their study is mainly to come up with, how do I make this one much more attractive, planned, and generate more revenue? Could be, right? That's a strategic investment. Ours is an M&A kind of an investment, which is, how do we merge, how do we acquire and merge into the one? What is the cost involved? And if that cost is going to benefit, and what is the ROI? It is going to be in less 2 years, 3 years, we'll get the ROI, or it is going to be what? I think these two I see as a two different. There may be minor overlap. That's what, waiting on that one, personally, I don't think that that's going to give you any additional information on this, because that will never cover anything on what is the cost involving into integrating into city. That's how I see it.
Well, and some of that information was included in the LAFCO analysis and their report. There's a lot of data there.
Okay.
But there's a lot that goes into running an aquatic facility, quite frankly, and they're not always super high on the revenue generation side. They're usually the staffing costs that are associated with it are usually pretty substantial, and from just coming from a city where we were designing a pool, indoor and outdoor, the type of pool that you have really navigates how you program that pool, right? And so there are some challenges with the configuration of the pool out at Rancho. And I'm not saying it's not possible for us. So there's a lot of analysis that has to go into it that wasn't necessarily done by LAFCO's consultants. So we are the experts in recreation and aquatics and programming. And so that, having that kind of engagement process, it takes time to figure that information.
Yeah, I think maybe I didn't come out correctly before I allow the other commissioners to talk. I just want to complete my thought process and my response to you, Joanne. So those data and even the pool, again, that's my understanding. Kevin can correct it. Please feel free to. The analysis of strategic priorities or strategic whatever they plan to do, I don't think it is not going to cover with this 24K, whatever they're giving it to the person. Not going to cover whether the pool has to be expanded or what are the costs involved. I don't think so. But if you think that, oh, they will do everything and the data is going to be useful, absolutely. Because I don't know the content completely. I haven't seen that RFP and what it has it. So if you think that you have visibility and from your side, said, okay, you take the RFP and see it and say, you know what, oh my God, all of these things, yes, anyway, I would have done it. Then there is a reason for you to say that, okay, then I think we can wait for the data. Anyway, I need to do it as a city, Cupertino City, Park and Rec, we need to do it. Then absolutely. I think I will let that call to be made by you. Again, I'm trying to say that is that two parts of the data point to council, even if we recommend, but I'm just taking a scenario one. If we recommend that, yes, we feel that it has to be absorbed and merged into it, assuming that that's a recommendation. City will ask, council will ask, okay, city staff, what do you think? What data you have? You may come back and say, yes, you have enough data, or I don't have a data, I need to do it, or either I can do it, spend some money to do that in parallel, which we can do in the waiting until May, or you can say, you know what, I have to wait until, because I don't have a budget, I need to wait for them. Anyway, they're doing it. I looked at their RFP, and that covers all the data what I need, then I'll wait for it. I think that call would be city call. That's what I don't want to say anything on that part. That is a city decision. I mean, staff, you and the city manager decision. That's how I see it. Again, I'm not making a decision. That's what I see based on the data. So maybe let me allow a couple of comments from other commissioners. Maybe it may be related to some of them. So Commissioner Tambe, you have, and then Commissioner Shashi, please.
So I definitely think it's important for us to understand what the fiscal impact is here. I do want to recognize a couple of things. First of all, this consultant has already been paid to complete this. So regardless of how we proceed, this project should be continuing forward. It should not be stopping because they are using taxpayer dollars. Like it's not going to stop. So hopefully, if we can proceed with this, it's not like we're going to recommend to city council that this be incorporated and then immediately it gets incorporated. There's, if I remember correctly from what LAFCO has outlined, there are several month-long, and it will, my guess, not even be complete by the time that this is, or even there's like voting and all this stuff that has to happen. It's not even going to be starting until after this is completed. So I think us to wait for this to take other steps, I don't necessarily see the point, because we're still going to be able to have this information. And I'm reading the RFP right now, and it's all about the functioning of that place. I think, Chair Gopal, you said it perfectly, where it's not answering those other questions. And I think they're valid other questions of like, what is the cost to update? What is the cost to update versus building an entirely new aquatic center to fulfill like, master plan needs, things like that. But I don't think that this particular thing, as the RFP is showing, is necessarily going to be like helping us. That having been said, it's still going to continue. Like, we're still going to get this information, and I think that's really relevant. But the process of incorporation takes a very long time, and I would like to move forward. I know that somebody else has nobody else had a hand up. Okay.
Can we go to oral communication? Sorry, I can't remember.
Go ahead, Commissioner. Go ahead, Director.
Did we have oral communication on this topic?
Yeah.
Sorry.
We already had.
Can I make a motion, Chair?
Yes, please. I would like to. I think no more discussion, no hands up on the commissioner side. I think we had enough discussion on it. Yes, I look forward. Before, sorry, Commissioner Tambe, before you make a motion, I just want to understand, do we have that the option A and option B, or the option 1 and 2, whatever they're given? Can we just reiterate? Because if we have that one, I don't have it handy, so that we can just share that whatever the council originally told us to pick option A, option B, then I think we can just use that as that, okay, we are going for option A. I don't have the document in front of me. Do we have that, Commissioner Tambe, or anyone?
I don't have the exact language. I'm
okay.
Happy to.
Yeah, I just want to make that, we don't want to mix up option A, option B differently. So I just wanted to make sure.
I have that language from the LAFCO report.
We're wrong. Yeah. I don't want to mess that up.
So option 1 is to.
I think that was the cover letter on the sheet.
So yeah, option 1 is status quo, and option 2 is merge with the city of Cupertino.
Okay, so I move that we go with option 2. We recommend to council that the oh my God, my jaw's starting to lock. Option 2.
Can you just state, somebody can, maybe whoever is seconding can state, given the issue Commissioner Tambe has, whoever is going to second, maybe.
I can second.
Yeah, please. And if you could.
I can read it to you.
Please.
I just lost it. Where'd it go? Oh, option 2, merger of RRRPD with the city of Cupertino. RRRPD would be dissolved and its functions, services, assets, and liabilities transferred to the city of Cupertino. The city would integrate RRRPD programs and facilities into current city operations and recreation planning. This option assumes that RRRPD's current property tax allocation would be entirely transferred to the city, and that all RRRPD services would be maintained at current levels or better.
Excellent. Thank you. Any discussion on this one before we go on the voting? Sorry, Sashi, anyone? We got okay. No one. Okay, then I think.
No, I had my hand raised.
Oh, sorry. I thought I missed it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, please.
So I don't know if this is part of the discussion or if this gets approved. Back to what Director Joanne said, if it were to be presented to the city council, we need to make sure that we can explain to them the deficiencies in the survey and why the direction to engage with just the Rancho Rinconada residents didn't fit the problem.
Okay, I was about to do a quick comment on that too. So this is, if this goes as such within, then city council will look for the data. And when the data goes, and I think the data should have much more explanation than just presenting those 10%, whatever we got the survey and this one. There should be a correlation, should be given, and that should give much more information to the council. The recommendation should accompany that correlated document. I think that's what I feel too. Commissioner Stanek, you said the same. Is that?
Yeah. Yes. I guess the question is, who would be presenting this? Would it be staff or would it be the commission?
I don't know the answer to that, only because I'm new and I don't know how they handle these situations.
Okay, so
but I would assume that the commission would come and present the item and field any questions that the council may have.
Okay, so at that part, I think maybe what we can do, Commissioner Stanek, Commissioner Sashi has one. So before I suggest something, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so just sort of reiterating what has happened. There seems to be an urgency to close it, and I understand the urgency. We are already behind from where we were back in April. I have a feeling that when we make, this is my feeling on this, is that you make a recommendation, it should be clear as to exactly why we made that recommendation. We don't want to be in a position where we have information potentially that's not provided. One, does it make sense why we did not have Cupertino residents give their feedback? And I think we can answer that by saying there was some information on the master plan, so it kind of, there's a need that way. But again, all of that information is, going to be based on whoever is doing that reporting. So I would like to see the final final answer of that recommendation. I am myself trying to get it all together in my head at this point, that the number of households that replied versus the number of households that actually use the facility. There's so many little details that are not clear. Don't get me wrong, I truly think that this is coming closer to something that we should potentially acquire, but before we make such a recommendation, I think there is some detail that needs to go in along with that recommendation. So unless we're making that detailed recommendation, I think we could take, another cycle of the commission time, like if you make that recommendation in November versus doing it today, what bell rings? So that's my cautionary thought.
Okay, before we, I think we made the motion, we are discussing on it, that's okay. I know Commissioner Mina and Nisha, both you wanted to. Before that, I just want to make a call. Even if you go on, you're right, you're bringing up the right point, Commissioner Sashi. That's what I said. We will go with the recommendation, but we will specifically call out what data on which we are making this call. Because it's already took almost a year now, and then we need to have a thing, and we don't want to put it in the back burner. So we just want to tell them, explicitly call out, you asked us, and this is the recommendation. This could be an interim or whatever the decision, but this is only the city council is not going to act on just this one, but we owe something. It is sitting there for a long. We just want to close that action item to tell them, and the council can come back to us, absolutely, saying that, you know what, thank you, but no thanks. I would like really wanted you to some more. It could happen. I'm not saying that, but that's what I think it'll be. At least some information should be fed for the next level of it. Otherwise, we are going back in circles and we are sitting in the corner. That's how I feel it. But let Commissioner Nisha. Sorry, Dr. John. So go ahead, please, if you are adding something on it.
I just was going to try and make a recommendation for your review as to if staff were to put together the information that we've talked about to make sure we're hitting all the points, for you to then say, because I want you to feel confident in what you're recommending. I don't want there to be any misinformation or I thought we said this, but so if you want me to come back with the information that we have gathered statistically for you to say, this is why we're making this recommendation, so that you can review it and feel confident in your recommendation. I'm happy to do that at the next meeting. I don't know if that's helpful or not. I'm not trying to delay, just trying to give you confidence in what your recommendation would be.
Okay, I do have some comments on it. Thank you for pointing out, but because we need to get a clarity on it. But I'm not sure whether that could be a follow-up action before we go into present to the council. That could be. That's what I see it. But let me hear from Commissioner Tambe and Meena and everyone. This motion is having a lot of discussion. I never seen one. But it's a good for the right data. We don't want to urge it. We don't want to jump into conclusion. You are doing a check on, make sure that we do the right thing for the community. Absolutely. It's okay. I think we may go until 10 o'clock. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, please go ahead, Commissioner.
Awesome. So
your audio.
I completely understand the challenge between the discrepancy. Is this better?
This is better now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so the discrepancy I understand between the survey and the actual Rancho Rinconada residents that are using the facility. I understand the challenge there, but that is the point. The point is that only 4.4% of Rancho Rinconada residents are actually using the facility, and candidly, that's too small, too insignificant statistically, not in terms of people, but statistically of a number size to warrant that being the reason that we need to have another surveys for those 53 people so that we can survey the Rancho Rinconada. We don't need to do a survey because we know that it's only going to really have experiential feedback from 4% of the population of that district. So 96% of Rancho Rinconada residents are subsidizing 65% of the usage of that facility. And I think that that's something that we should pay attention to. And I think that's something that the city council will be pretty warm to. They know the master plan. They know what our citizens are looking for. They know that the east side of Cupertino needs more facility and recreation access, and we can definitely do this by supporting the people who are actually in our community, and then 96% of Rancho Rinconada district members who are paying for something that they don't use and probably don't even know about. So I would like for my recommendation my motion that was seconded to stand as is. And if we need to compile follow-up information between now and when it would go to council, either in this next council meeting or the council meeting after, I think that's follow-up information, but I don't think that would fundamentally change the nature of my motion. So I'd like for it to stand as is.
Okay, and there are a couple of things. So Commissioner Meena, you have, and then Commissioner Sashi, and then Stanley. Hopefully it doesn't come back again. So go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand Commissioner Sashi, what she said just now. I'm not sure. Did she just suggest maybe another motion, not vote today, but maybe the next in next month?
I can.
I'm
just
pretty
say
sure
that
we won't wait till next May or June waiting for the report to come out. Yeah, but I didn't quite understand Sashi's.
Okay, maybe okay. Commissioner Sashi, you yourself can explain, please.
Yeah, so my take on this, Mina, is that at this point we are, saying we're going to the motion was made and we're trying to vote on this motion, but the clarity with which we would make that recommendation, if we had that report that Joanne specifically gave the details about, like all of the stuff that we discussed, if there is right now we have a report from staff that is very different from the recommendation that we're going to come up with. And if we have it can always come back from I know Gopal is suggesting that we can always get it. Council can always request that information, but I would like to be clear. I have seen that when we don't absolutely clearly state exactly what we want from the council, given that they have given us this task, it's going to be decisions that we may or may not like. So I would like for us to give specific recommendations with specifics on, this is the survey, this is what happened, this is why we did this, and this is the conclusion. That clarity will not come in this recommendation unless we see that clarity in the staff report.
Maybe if I hear correctly, you wanted to amend this one, but the recommendation is not changing, but you wanted to make it much more specific than what the motion is. Is that, am I getting it?
Yes, I'm not trying to change the motion, but I am trying to say that this motion, without that backup information, is not going to convey clearly the recommendation, because it'll just be a lot of questions that will come back. So I would rather we give the detailed report behind this recommendation and sort of hold the motion till maybe next time. Did I clarify myself, Mina?
Yeah, so I think you did, but I'm trying to, again, Commissioner Stanek wants to say something.
Yeah, my point was, I guess Commissioner Tombe referenced, whether it would go to council in the next meeting or the meeting after that. I think that's entirely too soon for it to go to council. I think we need to look realistically that this council will be changing in one way or another, because we have one council member who is terming out and we're in the middle of an election. And it's been, my experience that council does not generally make a decision on something this big right at the end of a term. And so there is an election coming up in November. The new council members will probably be sworn in December. And they get to decide when they take this up. So I think there is time to put that presentation together.
Yeah, so what I hear is that there are two things I hear. I just wanted to make sure that if there is need for amending the motion with a little more specific. So the motion is to go with as recommended option, whatever, I don't know how to repeat because it's a long one. So whatever Commissioner Stanek seconded it, it is the same motion, recommendation. The only thing is, looks like what Commissioner Sashi was saying is that we should have a little more addendum to it or add to it, saying that with those specific, which means with either we call limited data or whatever the data we have collected and which is based on that data, because that's what you wanted to, if I understand correctly. Is that will make you feel that, yes, this is the motion that I'm comfortable with it?
Right, right. I am not comfortable with just a I'm not comfortable with the motion itself without the backup data. I think it will have value only with. So as you said, if we can amend it to say that, it comes with this information, then I will be more comfortable with voting on it.
Okay. I suggest this one. I think we had enough discussion on it once. So, and I know it's a very good discussion, good, because we need to have more clarity into it. What I propose is that amending the motion with additional statement saying that this recommendation is based on the data we collected, right, which will be attached, I hope, when it goes there, based on the survey and the data, whatever we are seeing today on the usage pattern. Survey data and the usage pattern based on this data. So is that okay? If you could amend, I think I'll go back to Commissioner Tambe, who put the motion in place. Is it okay to amend that, saying that the recommendation is based on the data? That's a specific word Commissioner Sashi was asking. Based on the data we had from survey and the usage. Whatever the data which you're going to present. Do you think that would be an amendment possible? Commissioner Tambe, I think.
Sure. I don't actually think that needs an amendment. You can just include it in the rationale behind the motion. So I don't know. If someone wants to make the amendment, and then we can vote on the amendment and then vote on the motion. We should just keep going.
Yeah, wouldn't you just say that one that get amended, and then I think Commissioner Stanek or whoever can second it again. Go ahead, please.
But we're already in the discussion of the initial motion, so I guess.
So how do it go? So I thought the amending the motion is that.
So you're making a friendly amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm adding a friendly amendment to include the data that we hadn't been given before through LAFCO, then through the survey, and then more specifically with the information that we got today, stating that all the stuff that's been given to us, specifically the 10% usage, 10% whatever, 65% that chart, everything we have. Is that accurate? I don't really know what the amendment is doing. So that's my friendly amendment.
I think it's Gopal's friendly amendment. He should state it, and you should accept it if you accept.
Okay, so and I accept. I think whatever you said is correct from a LAFCO. So this is nothing but our recommendation is based on the LAFCO report and the survey data, and the usage statistics we received today. That is the basis for our recommendation. That's the amendment.
Sure. Yes, I accept your friendly amendment to the motion.
Excellent. Do we need to go for seconding again, or I don't know?
No, I don't think so. If it's a friendly amendment, I don't think you need to.
So if that is the case, I think we are ready to go for voting. Whitney, would you please call for it one by one? Yeah.
Chair Kumarapan?
Yes.
Vice Chair Stanek?
Yes.
Commissioner Tambe?
Yes.
Commissioner Shu?
Yes.
Commissioner Begor?
Yes.
Motion passes.
With the 5-5. Okay, thank you. It's good. The one thing I just want to add is that I think, as Carol, Commissioner Stanek said, Dr. Joanna, I think we have to do some more work, and you come up with the compiled data, and then we use it. So it is not going to the council immediately. Just want to make, because we have to see the data and stuff. And again, in the middle of election, we will wait for it. Whether it's going to go immediately after, we will decide. But at least you will have a collection of data, and possibly we can see it in the next meeting. That could be the way it goes.